Hi. Another thing we'll look at very quickly is what other factors causes traders to lose their money. Now, if you look at this very well, in fact, I've broken this down into four different parts of this particular reason. One, I've realized that traders who don't record their entries, their exits, their emotion before, during, and after, and the outcomes will never improve on their strategy, will never improve on themselves, will never be improved. Now, let me explain what I mean by this point. Look at this very well. See, 4 points, but one particular heading. Okay, because I've noticed that traders who don't document don't improve. What is never documented is never improved. Which is why the point I'm discussing now is documenting your trades, which is having a trading journal. This is very important because, like I mentioned, entry is about where you want to enter the particular trade. Exit, every trade has two exits. One, you're exiting in profit or you're exiting in stop loss, which is the original reason. You only have two exits. One exit is stop loss, another exit is take profit. Even if your stop loss is on break even or your exit is on TP, it's two exits. Okay? The other thing is your emotion. See, this cannot be overemphasized. Most traders overlook this aspect of emotion, which is how do I feel before I enter this trade? What was my psychology? What setup is already existing in my head before entering that setup, before entering that trade? The second thing is how do I feel during the trade? And how do I feel after the trade? There are some setups where you feel good before you enter, feel bad during, and feel worse after. There are some setups where you feel good before you enter, maybe not too good but doubtful, feel bad in the trade, and feel good after. Now, let me give you a scenario of this second one. You're not confident in the setup, but you're like, those who put all these alphabets, like this is an A plus setup, this is B plus setup, this is C setup, or all those kind of things. Okay, let's say this is a C setup. I don't expect you to give me huge profit, but I've seen it play out times and times again. Now I've entered the particular setup, the trade, and I'm like, I shouldn't have. Oh, I'm now feeling bad about myself. But the trade now comes to my break even after going in drawdown and comes to my break even, and I close it immediately, and I feel good about myself. Even if the trade performs in the direction I want, I feel good because in the beginning, that particular setup has never been the creme de la creme. So why did I even enter it in the first place? So automatically, the improvement will now come in any setup that looks like this. Even if it plays out, I will be jotting the number of times it plays out versus the number of times it doesn't play out before I can participate in that particular type of setup anymore. Now, the third one is the outcome, because your outcome has a lot to play with your entry exit position and your emotion. In fact, if you make money, if you take a bad trade and you make money, your outcome will be good. If you take a bad trade and you lose money, your outcome will be bad. If you take a bad trade and you don't lose, you don't make, your outcome will be mildly okay. But how do you now know that the trade is bad or good or mid-case scenario? It's because you have been journaling, putting your trades on paper. In fact, old school wise, I prefer putting my trades on paper, except now that you have different journals you can use on your system. If not, most of my trading journals have been done on paper. In fact, I draw the chart, I give reasons why I entered, give reasons why I would exit, how I feel before the trade, how I felt during the trade, how I felt after the trade, then the outcome of the trade, what I could do better, why I shouldn't take this trade anymore, why I should build statistics on this trade, like record how many times the trade has won against when it has lost, reasons why I should continue taking the trade. Or they just break it down. You understand? And why I put mine on paper is that I can easily refer to it. I don't have anything that would say, oh, because my laptop is down, or oh, something happened to my hard drive. No, it's in hard copy. So there is no hacking of my journal. I can go back as far back as 2019, 2020, 2018 to see the record. So many piles of books that I've journaled over the years. Now, there are some setups I don't journal because I've journaled it to the point where if it plays exactly, I just refer to that particular page. But if I'm feeling the nudge to journal that particular setup because of something new, I can write the date and say refer to so date for the full description of the kind of pattern it played. But if the pattern is not as identical as I want it, I will now take my time to draw the candlesticks to the, as in, imagine where you're doing technical drawing on candlesticks. Well, I'm a science by an engineer by profession, so you get my point. Use technical drawing, engineering drawing to make sure that the ratio of the candlesticks are equal to what is on the chart. So if I'm using, I will draw the one for 4 hours, draw the one for 1 hour, draw the one for 30. It's a painstaking effort. But by the time you draw the candlesticks with your hand, your brain and your hand are reinforced. It's one thing to look at the candle, to look at the chart pattern, I'd be like, okay, this is what. But when you draw it, there is this thing that happens when you write down things. You reinforce that thing you were supposed to remember, or you plan to remember. You reinforce it. If I just read something, I just carry it in my head, it's one way. But if I read it and I write it down, it reinforces what I wanted to remember. So you get my point now. So journaling is very important. Now, if you're old school like me, you want to journal by writing it down, good. I prefer the old school method. Not that I can't change or adapt, but if it's been working for me, why change it? You understand? But there are things I improve upon, I get better on, tweak the strategy, tweak how I apply what I know on the market. It's not like the way it was as far back as the before 2020 and all that. And the market is never absolutely the same. But we'll come that is the topic for another day. Okay? So feel free to subscribe, like, tell me what you think about this point, and share. Okay? Peace.